We tend to imagine the ancient world as a place of pristine marble and sunlit philosophy, but that sanitized version of the past dissolves the moment you step outside the Mediterranean. In the 4th century BC, a Greek storyteller named Herodotus left the safety of his home to document the unknown world. He became the first person to use investigative travel to record the human story. What he found wasn't a collection of grand utopias, but a landscape defined by alien customs and extreme human behavior. Retracing his geographic steps takes us away from the familiar Mediterranean. We'll start in Greece, move down into the Nile, and leave the known world to find the most alien civilizations ever documented. The route moves through the massive trade centers of Babylon and out into the eastern fringes, where the established rules of society give way to a world of medical cannibalism and ritual sacrifice. To truly understand history, we have to look past the museum versions of the past and confront how terrifyingly diverse human survival used to be. This is ancient Egypt. To the Greeks, the massive scale of these pyramids made the empire look familiar, but their daily life operated on rules that were completely inverted. While Greek women stayed at home, Egyptian women managed town square commerce. Meanwhile, the men stayed indoors to handle the weaving. Their reverence for animals was so intense that if a house caught fire, the owners would abandon their possessions and rush into the smoke to save their cats first. If a household dog died of natural causes, every member of the family was required to shave their entire bodies bare as an act of mourning. Their medical practices were equally visceral. For elite mummifications, embalmers used a long, hooked iron tool, driving it through a corpse's nostrils to extract the brain piece by piece. Egypt proves that architectural brilliance didn't equal cultural familiarity. Their entire society was governed by spiritual routines that actively defied Western logic. This gate led into Babylon, an intimidating marvel of engineering that hid its lack of medical knowledge behind bright blue tiles and golden mythical beasts. Despite their massive infrastructure and wealth, the Babylonians possessed absolutely zero physicians. This forced a mandatory custom where the sick were carried into the city square. Any passerby who had recovered from a similar illness was required to stop and offer their own medical advice. Their pragmatic approach to the body continued after death. Babylonians typically buried their deceased submerged in vats of honey. The most transactional part of their society was the annual marriage auction. Women were sorted and auctioned off to the highest bidder based on their perceived value. The wealth paid for the most attractive women was used as a subsidy.
The auctioneer funneled that capital downward to pay commoners to marry the handicapped or those the market deemed less desirable. Babylon treated human life, sickness, and love as raw economic transactions, prioritizing absolute pragmatism over human empathy. At the absolute edge of the known world, the nomadic steppes and the D-beast, traditional civilization vanishes. Among the Indian Padaya tribe, the solution to illness was a brutal form of preemptive medical cannibalism. Friends would gather and slaughter a sick tribe member, feasting on them before the illness could cause their flesh to spoil. A neighboring tribe practiced the opposite extreme. If a member fell ill, they were abandoned in a remote location to die completely alone. In these regions, Herodotus recorded mythical threats as plain fact, describing fox-sized, hyper-fast ants that dug for gold in the desert sand. He detailed the Massagetes' rituals of sacrificing and eating their own elderly, alongside reports from Libya of headless men with eyes in their chests. At the very edges of the map, the luxury of society is replaced by survival mechanisms that look like pure monstrosity to those in the Mediterranean. Why did the father of history meticulously document all of this madness and violence? Herodotus used these accounts to demonstrate how the definition of civilization changes depending entirely on a person's geography. Practices that looked like barbarism to the Greeks, like marriage auctions or eating the dead, were actually sacred duties and the social bedrock for the people living them. History's first drafts capture an ancient world of brutal and incredibly diverse survival mechanisms, far removed from the sterile marble galleries we imagine today.